I'm Tariq Melrose, and if today's news cycle has left you feeling like you just watched a political magic show, congrats, you're paying attention. Misdirection, distraction, and disappearing responsibility all in one briefing, but we're not falling for it. Subscribe and stay close, because this is where illusions come undone, and trust me, the next reveal might just shock you.
Republicans scream about censorship, but their lies collapse when Twitter executives expose the truth about GOP's fake victimhood. Stay tuned for this video as we dismantle GOP hypocrisy, defend free speech, and fight for democracy together.
5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Matt Taibbi, a respected reporter who published much of the Twitter files, said, quote, Twitter's contact with FBI was constant and pervasive, as if it were a subsidiary. Now, I want to better understand why he would suggest that. Mr. Roth, while at Twitter, how many meetings did you have with the FBI?
I couldn't say for sure, but I would
More
say
than 10?
That's a
More than
reasonable
20?
estimate. I couldn't say for sure.
More than 50?
That seems a bit high.
Many meetings with the FBI. Well, we know how many FBI agents worked at Twitter while you were there?
I don't believe any active FBI
Former
agents.
FBI agents. How many worked there while you were there?
I'm aware of perhaps 2.
Well, we know of at least 9 because they started the BU group chat, BU for Bureau. Now, Mr. Roth, did the FBI ever ask you to share information like users' communication data without going through proper legal channels?
No, they did not, and I would have refused if they had.
That's correct. I see that you denied Agent Chan's request for access to Twitter's data feed. What's sick isn't that you would deny it, it's that the FBI would even ask you for the private data of American citizens without going through legal channels of the law. Now, I want to remind you, Mr. Roth, that you are under oath. Did the FBI ever ask you to do anything that was illegal or questionably legal?
I'm not a lawyer, but certainly not to the best of my recollection or knowledge.
Now, from the hearing that I've been a part of today, it's almost impossible to tell where the FBI ends and where Twitter begins. We have Mr. Boebert here, a former FBI agent, and there seems to be a revolving door between the FBI and Twitter itself. Even Mr. Boebert said that there was no collusion with the federal government and Twitter, but Mr. Boebert, that's you. You are the collusion between the federal government and the FBI. And now this is such a problem because we're seeing censorship all over. Mr. Roth, Ms. Gaddy, did either of you approve the shadow banning of my account at Lauren Boebert? Yes or no?
No, I did not.
Not to the best of my recollection.
Well, let me refresh your memory, because on March 12th, 2021, and Mr. Roth, I know you looked at it because Fascist Twitter 1.0 had a public interest exceptions policy, which means for members of Congress to be shadow banned, it had to go before you, Mr. Roth. So I'll ask again, did you shadow ban my account? Yes or no?
Again, not to the best of my recollection.
So the answer is, Mr. Roth, yes, you did. I found out last night from Twitter staff that you suppressed my account for this tweet. It's a freaking joke about Hillary Clinton being angry that she couldn't rig her election. It's a joke, but in response, being the sinister overlords that you all are, you placed a 90-day account filter so I could not be found. And now we see here that Twitter staff said the visibility filter on my account excluded me from top searches, prevented notifications for non-followers, and much more. This is considered an aggressive visibility filter. You silenced members of Congress from communicating with their constituents. You silenced me from communicating with the American people over a freaking joke. Now, who the hell do you think that you are? Election interference? Yeah, I would say that that was taking place because of you four sitting here. The Hunter Biden laptop story was suppressed. A sitting member of Congress was suppressed. A sitting president was banned from Twitter. You know, I bet that Putin is sitting in the Kremlin wishing he had as much election interference as you four here today. We've heard about threats to democracy. Well, what about shutting down a duly elected member of Congress? This is fundamental to our nation's governance, and you all attacked that very foundation. 230 protections? Well, those are for publishers, not for editors. And it's clear you were not acting as publishers, you were acting as editors. And Mr. Chairman, I think it's far past time that we remove 230 protections for big tech platforms who are abusing this protection. And let me just say, I'm not angry for myself. I'm not angry because I was silenced. I can reach out to Elon and to his staff, and I can see what's happened. And I can sit here today and hold you all in account. I am angry for the millions of Americans who were silenced because of your decisions, because of your actions, because of your collusion with the federal government. They can't reach out to Elon. They can't sit here today and hold you into account. We don't know where the FBI ends and Twitter begins. Free speech and even Twitter. Mr. Chairman, I yield.
The lady yields. Went over 24 seconds. I'll give Ms. Porter 24 extra seconds.
What we just saw was not a hearing. It was a stage play, a tired performance by Lauren Boebert and her Republican colleagues trying desperately to convince the American people that they are the victims of some vast, sinister conspiracy. And once again, it fell flat. Let's be clear, this wasn't about the FBI. This wasn't about Twitter. This wasn't about protecting free speech. This was about Republicans rewriting reality, screaming censorship every time their lies, disinformation, and hate speech don't get amplified by private companies. Lauren Boebert walks into this hearing with a chip on her shoulder, pounding her chest, demanding answers like some sort of freedom fighter. But the reality is this: she's not a freedom fighter. She's a fraud. She's not defending democracy. She's undermining it. And she's not standing up for ordinary Americans. She's auditioning for the next Fox News primetime slot. Let's unpack this. She starts by referencing Matt Taibbi and the so-called Twitter files, a project Elon Musk pushed as part of his right-wing rebranding of Twitter into a safe haven for conspiracy theories. The Twitter files were cherry-picked emails and Slack messages stripped of context, repackaged to feed the MAGA narrative that big tech is colluding with Democrats. It was theater, and Republicans like Boebert treat it like gospel. Then comes the interrogation of Yoel Roth, Twitter's former head of trust and safety. How many meetings with the FBI did you have? 10, 50, 9 FBI agents working at Twitter, a group chat called BU? This is the classic GOP move. Inflate normal, legal interactions into some grand conspiracy. Here's the truth. Law enforcement agencies routinely communicate with social media companies about threats, national security, and violent extremism. That's their job. After January 6th, when domestic terrorism surged, those conversations weren't optional. They were necessary. But Republicans don't want to talk about January 6th. They don't want to talk about the violent insurrection their party incited. They don't want to talk about the white supremacist militias that organized online. So instead, they pretend the FBI was colluding with Twitter because Twitter dared to enforce its own rules. Now let's tackle the big accusation: shadow banning. Lauren Boebert whines that her account was suppressed. She wasn't trending. She wasn't popping up in searches. She calls it censorship. Folks, let's get something straight. Shadow banning isn't censorship. It's content moderation. It's a platform exercising its right to limit the spread of disinformation, harassment, and hate speech. And if Lauren Boebert's posts triggered those filters, that's on her. That's not tyranny. That's consequences. She even admits what got her silenced. A joke about Hillary Clinton rigging her election. A joke. Except here's the problem. The Republican Party has built an entire movement around the lie that elections are rigged. That's not comedy. That's an attack on democracy itself. When you spread lies that undermine faith in elections, don't be surprised if private companies don't want to hand you a megaphone. But Boebert goes further. She tries to spin this into election interference. She actually has the audacity to compare Twitter applying visibility filters to foreign adversaries like Putin meddling in our democracy. Think about how insulting that is. Vladimir Putin funds disinformation campaigns, hacks voting systems, and bankrolls authoritarian regimes. Twitter limiting a congresswoman's ability to spread disinformation is not the same thing. Only a party as unserious, as shameless, as reckless as today's GOP could try to equate those two things. And then comes the Republican obsession, Hunter Biden's laptop. According to Boebert, suppressing that story was interference. What she won't tell you is that the so-called laptop story was riddled with disinformation pushed by Rudy Giuliani, a man neck-deep in shady foreign dealings, and that Twitter, like many outlets, made an editorial judgment to treat it cautiously. That's not collusion, that's responsible journalism. But here's where the hypocrisy reaches Olympic levels. Republicans scream about Section 230, claiming Twitter acts like an editor, not a publisher. They threaten to strip away legal protections for social media companies, but only when those companies moderate right-wing disinformation. Funny how they don't complain when platforms ban leftists, activists, or even LGBTQ voices. Funny how they don't complain when Meta's algorithms boost conservative news to the top of the feed. This isn't about fairness. This is about power. The GOP wants to control private companies so they can shove their propaganda down America's throat without resistance. Boebert even admits she can just call Elon if she has a problem. That's all you need to know. Free speech isn't the goal here. Special treatment is. Republicans want two sets of rules, one where they can lie, harass, and incite violence with impunity, and another where everyone else gets silenced. That's not free speech. That's authoritarianism. And let's talk about the gall of Lauren Boebert presenting herself as a champion for the millions of Americans who were silenced. Who exactly is she talking about? Is she talking about the rioters who used Twitter to coordinate January 6th? Is she talking about the QAnon accounts that spread conspiracy theories about pedophile cabals? Is she talking about the hate groups that incited violence against immigrants, women, LGBTQ people, and people of color? Because those are the silenced voices she's defending. She's not fighting for ordinary Americans. She's fighting for the extremists who keep her base radicalized and angry. Meanwhile, what are Democrats fighting for? Protecting voting rights, expanding health care, lowering prescription drug prices, rebuilding infrastructure. Democrats are governing while Republicans are performing. That's the real contrast here. And here's the punchline. After all her grandstanding, all her shouting, all her finger-pointing, Lauren Boebert yielded her time, and the hearing moved on. Nothing was proven, nothing was gained. It was noise, designed for clips on right-wing media. So let's put this hearing in context. The GOP claims to defend democracy while they undermine it at every turn. They claim to protect free speech while they cheer Trump's bans on books, drag shows, and classroom discussions. They claim to fight corruption while they cover up Trump's crimes, Jared Kushner's $2 billion Saudi deal, and Clarence Thomas's billionaire gifts. They claim to care about law and order while they excuse January 6th and demonize the FBI. This is not a party of principles. This is a party of projection. Everything they accuse Democrats of, collusion, corruption, censorship, is exactly what they are guilty of. They don't want accountability. They want impunity. They don't want democracy. They want domination. But here's the good news. The American people see through it. Poll after poll shows that voters don't buy the Hunter Biden smears, the Twitter conspiracy theories, or the MAGA lies. What voters care about are real issues: jobs, healthcare, safety, freedom, democracy. And on those issues, Republicans have nothing to offer. That's why they scream about Twitter, because when it comes to governing, they've got nothing. So the next time you hear Republicans like Lauren Boebert crying about censorship, remember this: they're not censored. They're amplified every day on Fox News, on Newsmax, on social media, in Congress itself. They are the loudest voices in the room. They just hate that they can't dominate every conversation with their lies anymore. That's not censorship, that's accountability. And accountability is exactly what they fear most. This has been Tariq Melrose Vlogs. We cut through the noise, call out the lies, and defend democracy every single time. If you're tired of Republican theatrics, If you believe in truth over propaganda, and if you want to fight back against the GOP's assault on free speech and democracy, then hit that subscribe button, share this video, and join us. Together, we will expose the hypocrisy and protect the values that actually matter.